Kindness in Islam is not a side virtue or an optional quality, it is the very heartbeat of faith. From the moment the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, Islam established kindness as a foundational principle that governs how human beings interact with Allah, with other people, with animals, and even with the environment. The Arabic word often associated with kindness is ihsan, which means excellence, beauty, and doing good beyond obligation. Islam teaches that true faith is not merely declared by the tongue or shown through rituals alone, but proven through character, mercy, compassion, and selfless acts of kindness. The Prophet Muhammad emphasized that Allah is kind and loves kindness in all matters, and through his own life, he demonstrated how even the smallest acts, done sincerely, carry immense spiritual weight. In a world often driven by self-interest, Islam calls believers to rise above ego, anger, and indifference, and to become sources of mercy for all creation. Among the countless forms of kindness encouraged in Islam, 5 acts stand out as timeless, transformative, and deeply impactful: kindness to parents, kindness to the poor and needy, kindness in speech and behavior, kindness to animals, and kindness through forgiveness and patience. The first and most emphasized act of kindness in Islam is kindness toward parents. The Quran repeatedly links worship of Allah with honoring one's parents, making it clear that gratitude toward them is second only to gratitude toward the Creator. Allah says in the Quran that a person should show excellence to their parents and never even utter a word of irritation toward them. This command is so powerful that Islam elevates everyday acts, like speaking gently, listening patiently, or helping them physically, into acts of worship. Parents sacrifice their comfort, health, time, and dreams for their children, often without expecting anything in return. Islam acknowledges this immense sacrifice, especially that of the mother, who bears pain, sleepless nights, and emotional strain. The Prophet Muhammad stated that paradise lies beneath the feet of mothers, a metaphor that highlights the spiritual elevation gained through serving and respecting them. Kindness to parents is not limited to obedience when young, it extends into adulthood, old age, illness, and even after their death through prayers, charity, and honoring their friends. Islam teaches that when parents grow old, children must become the hands, feet, and comfort they once were for them. Raising one's voice, showing impatience, or neglecting their needs is considered a grave moral failure. Through kindness to parents, Islam cultivates humility, gratitude, and empathy, shaping individuals who recognize the value of sacrifice and unconditional love. The second profound act of kindness in Islam is kindness toward the poor, needy, orphans, and those facing hardship. Islam recognizes poverty not as a personal failure, but as a test of society's compassion and justice. The Quran repeatedly commands believers to give charity, feed the hungry, care for orphans, and support widows. Zakat, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, institutionalizes kindness by making financial support for the less fortunate a religious obligation rather than an optional act of generosity. Beyond zakat, Islam encourages sadaqah, voluntary charity, which can be given in countless forms: money, food, clothing, time, or effort. The Prophet Muhammad taught that even a smile is charity, emphasizing that kindness is not limited to wealth. In Islamic history, many companions of the Prophet would secretly give food at night so that the poor would not feel embarrassed. This reflects Islam's emphasis not just on giving, but on preserving dignity. Islam warns strongly against arrogance toward the poor and reminds believers that wealth is a trust from Allah, not a personal achievement. Kindness to the needy purifies the heart from greed, softens arrogance, and builds a society where compassion replaces exploitation. Through charity and care, Islam aims to eliminate social division and create a community bound by empathy and mutual responsibility. The third act of kindness in Islam is kindness in speech and behavior. Islam places extraordinary importance on how people speak, listen, and interact with one another. Words have power, they can heal or destroy, uplift or humiliate. The Quran instructs believers to speak good words or remain silent, teaching that silence is better than harmful speech. The Prophet Muhammad was known for his gentle tone, respectful language, and thoughtful responses, even when faced with hostility or ignorance. He never insulted, mocked, or used abusive language, and he taught that a true believer is one from whose tongue and hands others are safe. Kindness in speech includes honesty without harshness, advice without humiliation, and disagreement without disrespect. Islam condemns gossip, slander, backbiting, and ridicule, recognizing how deeply such behaviors damage trust and emotional well-being. Even when correcting someone, Islam encourages wisdom, patience, and compassion. Kind behavior also extends to everyday interactions, greeting others warmly, listening attentively, forgiving mistakes, and showing appreciation. Through kind speech and conduct, Islam builds emotionally healthy individuals and peaceful communities, reminding believers that character is the true measure of faith. The fourth significant act of kindness in Islam is kindness toward animals and all living creatures. Islam recognizes animals as creations of Allah with their own rights and purpose. The Prophet Muhammad taught that mercy shown to animals is a means of earning Allah's mercy. Numerous hadith narrations highlight this principle, including the famous story of a man forgiven by Allah for giving water to a thirsty dog, and another where a woman was punished for imprisoning a cat without food or care. These stories emphasize that kindness is not limited to humans alone. Islam prohibits cruelty, overworking animals, harming them unnecessarily, or using them for entertainment that causes pain. Even during lawful acts like hunting or slaughtering for food, Islam mandates compassion, quickness, and minimizing suffering. The Prophet instructed that blades should be sharpened to prevent pain and that animals should not witness the slaughter of others. Islam also encourages caring for the environment, planting trees, protecting water sources, and avoiding waste, recognizing that environmental kindness is inseparable from kindness to living beings. Through these teachings, Islam establishes a holistic ethic of mercy that encompasses all creation, reflecting the divine attribute of Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. The fifth deeply transformative act of kindness in Islam is kindness through forgiveness and patience. Islam understands human nature, people make mistakes, hurt one another, and act unjustly. Rather than promoting revenge or bitterness, Islam elevates forgiveness as a noble and spiritually powerful act. The Qur'an praises those who restrain anger, pardon others, and respond to evil with good. The Prophet Muhammad embodied this principle at the highest level, especially during the conquest of Mecca, when he forgave those who had persecuted him for years. This act of forgiveness was not weakness, it was moral strength that transformed enemies into allies. Islam teaches that forgiving others purifies the heart, releases emotional burdens, and brings divine reward. Patience, sabr, is closely linked with forgiveness and is described in the Quran as a quality loved by Allah. Patience in hardship, patience in anger, and patience in dealing with difficult people are all considered acts of worship. Through forgiveness and patience, Islam heals relationships, prevents cycles of hatred, and fosters inner peace. It teaches believers that true victory lies not in overpowering others, but in mastering one's own ego. Together, these 5 acts of kindness form a complete moral framework that shapes every aspect of a Muslim's life. Kindness to parents builds gratitude and humility, kindness to the needy nurtures social justice, kindness in speech creates harmony, kindness to animals fosters mercy, and kindness through forgiveness cultivates inner strength. Islam does not restrict kindness to grand gestures or rare opportunities, it integrates kindness into daily life, transforming ordinary moments into acts of worship. From greeting someone with peace to removing harm from a pathway, from feeding the hungry to forgiving an insult, Islam teaches that every sincere act of kindness carries eternal value. In a world increasingly marked by division, anger, and indifference, the Islamic model of kindness offers a timeless solution, one rooted in faith, compassion, and responsibility. Ultimately, Islam teaches that kindness is not merely a moral choice, it is a reflection of one's relationship with Allah. A heart connected to the Creator naturally becomes gentle toward creation. The Prophet Muhammad summarized this beautifully when he said that the most beloved people to Allah are those who are most beneficial to others. Through kindness, Islam transforms individuals into sources of light, communities into havens of care, and societies into reflections of divine mercy. These 5 acts of kindness are not just teachings to be remembered, but practices to be lived, daily, sincerely, and selflessly, so that faith becomes visible not only in prayer, but in compassion that touches every soul.